been 7 months since the last update for No Man's Sky. A handful of fixes and some fanfare later, Hello Games have been nearly completely silent as to the future plans for the embattled team and their masterpiece. With nothing more than some Waking Titan breadcrumbs and an unknown number of Atlas passes delivered, the long stretch of inactivity has the No Man's Sky community a particular kind of thirsty. In this video, we'll discuss the Say Hello movement, the meaning and the dissent, and by the end, I'll discuss why Hello Games should take it seriously. And just because I like to poke the hornet's nest in my video comments sections, let's just go ahead and get the objective facts out of the way. Regardless of your feelings about the launch of No Man's Sky, the game is now good. A lot of the issues that were complained about when the game released have been addressed. The question of what do you do in No Man's Sky has been answered. Repeatedly. If you've somehow accidentally wandered onto my video through YouTube's inconsistent algorithm, and you have angry and unreasonable feelings about No Man's Sky, and you've misplaced your butt paste that helps soothe the diaper rash that you claim Hello Games gave you, allow me to put some ice on your throbbing brown eye by saying,
why are you still here?
Now that we've gotten the usual suspects to mash the dislike button out of the way, Hello Games has spent over a year and a half busting their asses on making No Man's Sky more than what was initially promised. That's an actual fact. While multiplayer, whatever that was supposed to be, is still not a significant thing, the updates have gone above and beyond the initially promised product. There's just no arguing that. But there's always been one piece of feedback that I've always had for Hello Games in this turbulent journey, and that has been their constant pockets of silence in between updates. Hello Games' policy has always seemingly been non-reciprocal, one of the most controversial and highly sought-after games in recent history, surrounded by no communication until the last minute. Those 7 months have gone by while the community has become more and more antsy. And to express this, a recent video from fellow YouTuber JustJarrod details the frustrations of the perpetual silence from the team, and how the dust from the game's launch has collectively settled. In this video, Jarrod explains that the constant lack of general communication has been harmful to the perception of the studio amongst its fans, and generates a vacuum of uncertainty both around the studio and the game itself. It was with this video that the hashtag #SayHello was born. Just hours later, the video was up by hundreds of views, and has gained well over 400 upvotes on the No Man's Sky subreddit, leading to many more uses of the subject on Twitter. But what began as a heartfelt and genuine request for more interaction with the community and an appeal to the studio to finally come out of hiding, then became a debate surrounding choice, entitlement, and risk, all seemingly forgetting the original intent of that video. With more and more traction, the movement began to take shape, and like always, a tight-knit community has proven how easy it is for the good guys to reduce themselves to infighting while the bad guys look on in entertainment. In an astounding act of self-deprecation, the No Man's Sky community devolved into a mixture of bickering, finger-pointing, and self-righteous whining. Certain members of the community attempted to take the initial meaning of the movement to extremes, such as suggesting that participants flood the Hello Games Zendesk email with demands of a response. This isn't a surprise, as in the past, members of the same community has even gone as far as to literally show up at the Hello Games studio, because that was a great idea. And what's worse, actions like that brought out the self-aggrandizing commenters on Twitter to take some arbitrary stance on the matter, for God knows why, citing harassment because people had the damn nerve to tweet a goddamn hashtag. Almost as if somebody cried about camping in a first-person shooter when somebody dared to defend an objective. But in order to understand this debate, there's simply so much more involved here. There has been a long history of shitty behavior both outside and inside of the No Man's Sky community. The general conversation around No Man's Sky has always been, at the very least, condescending and embarrassingly bratty, and at the most, harmful, harassing, and dangerous. The internet is a terrible place, especially for developers who are catering to a crowd shrouded in anonymity, who use their words with abandon for the developers' humanity. So that brings up the first question. Why the hell should they? Honestly, Hello Games have taken enough of the internet's abuse, and let's take a second and separate abuse from criticism. One can be done without the other. But most commonly, Sean Murray, as well as his team, were regularly subjected to hateful comments and shitposting. At the launch of the game, the No Man's Sky subreddit became a festering cesspool triggering a shuffle in moderation and even a temporary shutdown due to the nature of its content. And when Waking Titan was really firing off, the primary Discord channel for the game was filled to the brim with trolling, shitposting, and 4chan level humor. All while members of both the dev team and Allison Smith were present to witness the community participate. This was also participated and perpetuated by a handful of prominent members of the NMS community. With so much negativity constantly surrounding the discussion, what exactly is the incentive for Hello Games to participate? Look at the constant abuse that community managers like Robert Bowling, David Vonderhaar, and the previous managers for Sledgehammer Games, Glenn Schofield and Michael Condrey, gets. Seeing this happen on a daily basis, why would anyone, let alone a developer, want to openly participate? That's food for thought. The second point of contention: nobody is entitled to anything. This was never not true. From day one, no person, influencer, YouTuber, or player was owed anything from Hello Games. But there's a common courtesy, an act of honesty, ownership, and good faith. And when you don't have communication, regardless of if you were in the right or not, you lose those three things by default. It's the perception, and perception counts. Sean Murray has stated on more than one occasion, what we do is more important than what we say. It's true. Actions have always been more important than words, but that doesn't automatically rule out saying anything. This isn't a question of entitlement. It never was. It was a plea for courtesy. In pretty much any gaming community, the word entitlement is thrown around weightlessly when somebody is displeased with another person's dissenting opinion.
We now pause this exciting video for a dramatic reading of Legacy Zero's video comment section. Nothing I love more than some idiot throwing politics into something when it's not warranted. Way to ruin a decent video. Now, back to the video.
So, Legacy Zero, why should Hello Games take the movement seriously, you're asking, as he sips his tea? Hello Games has pulled off something hardly anybody thought was possible. They took an always controversial game that failed to detonate on launch and really turned this shit around. Even as the internet hurled snark, harassment, and cynicism, the studio pushed through it to deliver an amazing line of updates with no end in sight. But there's always been something missing: engagement. And we can argue as much as we want about the reasons, but literally none of that will change the simple fact: the conversation has always been in one direction. Not only does this never happen with any other development studio, gamers simply aren't used to not having a circular feedback loop. That's not to say that one doesn't exist, but it's so far and few between that the long gaps in communication leaves community members to create their own narratives, which is never a good thing. But Legacy Zero, what about Waking Titan? You smugly yell as if you've wounded my argument with a single strike. Waking Titan. Waking Titan is really cool, there's no denying that. Sean Murray has made it very clear that Hello Games would use it as the platform of communication, instead of direct interaction with the community. On paper, this might actually be a creative idea, but it would have to rely heavily on good faith between the studio and its fans already existing. But that good faith was sort of injured from the onset when the game launched in the state that it did. Using Waking Titan as the only platform for delivering communication is a trust fall where the person you assume will catch you has already been guilty of dropping you before. Waking Titan should be supplementary to the message, not the message. And that's not taking away from Waking Titan itself. It's really quite clever, but it still leaves a gaping empty hole in connecting with the team the community loves so much. To Hello Games, it's been nearly 2 years since the game launched. The people who are still here are the ones who are probably going nowhere, whereas the toxic trash people who spew hate have fucked off to under whatever bridge they came from. The dust has settled, the radioactivity is gone. And to the No Man's Sky community, there is no dichotomy here. There is no disagreement. We all want the same thing: a fantastic game from a fantastic studio. But anyone claiming that the current status quo is sustainable isn't necessarily viewing the picture at large. The very reason for the instability in this community right now is strictly centered on one thing: uncertainty. Uncertainty perpetuated by the constant silence by the team. but I'm not seeing any sane person demanding for information about content for future updates, but rather demanding knowing that anything is happening at all. When Sean Murray infrequently tweets, it's celebrated almost as if some southern evangelical found Jesus in the foam of her cappuccino. So there's no sound argument that I can imagine being made to me that says that not literally everybody is chomping at the bit for this guy to talk. So, how can Hello Games and Sean Murray fix this? Sean Murray has gone on record saying that he and the team already knows a great deal about what the future content structure of the game will look like, but games like Rainbow Six Siege, Halo 5, Elite Dangerous, etc. have given fans of those games a development roadmap for players to understand, even vaguely, what the future holds for the games respectively. I have seen constant posts from people who aren't even sure that the game is still seeing content being made for it. Information is key, and the carrot on the stick approach can work well, but sooner or later, the person chasing the carrot is gonna catch on. Get a community manager, a thick-skinned purveyor of your product, message, and goodwill, and a person who will shout back with the man-babies of the internet when they show their asses. It isn't enough to endure abuse only. Clap back and don't take that shit. In closing, No Man's Sky is a wonderful game surrounded by a wonderful community that sometimes likes to bicker, but let's not get it twisted. This is still the best damn community for any game that I've ever had the pleasure of participating with. Yes, #SayHello is a valid conversation to have, regardless if you support it or not, and folks like JustJarrod may not be asking for anything other than a simple hello. But what I'm personally asking for is balance, sanity, courtesy, and the end to uncertainty. Folks, if you have feelings about the video, send them to the comment section below and click a like or dislike. Subscribe if you enjoy putting up with my crap, and even click the bell if you want to put up with my crap more regularly. Play nice, kids.